Selamünaleyküm.
Aleykümselam hocam.
Yes, we are live.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone, dear brothers and sisters. We had started the divine name ever-living Hayy. It was part of 30th Flash, the 5th point. So this week, we will keep with this name, second part. Just to remind quickly, the first point of this name, we had started with that. So it was defined in signs. I mean, the first point, the first sign was about 29 different attributes with respect to name Hayy. We could consider these as definitions of life itself. So what is life? The answer is classified in 29 bullets. So I had bulleted them in 29 as we can see. So in the coming parts, we will just concentrate on the 23rd one. We see here, life has two faces. So this was described last week. Now, this week we will start with this 23rd attribute, which is one of the 29 definitions of life. So having said that, we can just start reading this part. I skipped some parts because we don't have much time, just to concentrate on the meaning of the second sign. I just skipped some of the parts, just to let you know. It was said in the 23rd of the 29 properties of life that since life's two faces are transparent and unsullied, apparent causes have not been made avail to the disposals of dominical power. Yes, the meaning of this is as follows. For sure, everything in the universe contains good and beauty, while evil and ugliness are minor and have the function of being units of measurement to show the degrees of good and beauty and to augment and multiply their realities. In this way, the evil becomes good and the ugliness beauty. And apparent causes have been made avail to the disposals of power so that the complaints and anger arising from what are to the superficial view of conscious beings apparently ugliness, badness, disasters, and calamities should not be directed to the ever-living and self-subsistent one. Hayy Qayyum. And so that the contact of sacred, pure divine power with apparently vile and filthy things should not offend the dignity of power. The causes cannot create, but have been placed to be the target of unjust complaints and objections, and to preserve the dignity, sacredness, and unblemished nature of divine power. I'm going to stop here. I think this is very core, and this is a very subtle meaning to discuss. So this week we have again Colin Turner from UK and Fatih Atalay from New Jersey, beloved brothers and beloved scholars. So I really wonder their opinions on this passage that we have just read. So maybe this week let's start with Fatih Abi. Fatih Abi, can I ask you how you contemplate on these two aspects of life? How do you understand? And maybe I can detail this question because we will have the wordings like mulk and melekut, inner and outer part of life. How do you understand these concepts? How can we understand, in other words, the purity of life? What does it mean to have outer of life and inner of life? So what do you understand? And of course, the next, how can you relate this to the apparent beauties and ugliness in the universe that we see?
Assalamu alaikum.
Aleyküm selam.
I mean, as explained here, actually, it's gonna go into detail in next paragraphs. Everything created in this universe has two faces. One face, I mean, looks to this universe or to us, which we see, and the other face looks to the creator. As you mentioned, Mulk and Melekut. I mean, it's more deeper than this, but life is something. The things that we see in this universe, which are created, most of them, I mean, we see their creation through causes, but life is something very mysterious to scientists even. I remember reading on a scientific magazine, I believe at a doctor's office, about the experiments they made on dying people to see like what is making them that, I mean, this person was alive a second ago, now he is gone. And then they were even weighing them with very precise instruments. I mean, if they have any weight loss, I mean, if the spirit or life has any like material thing, I mean, this is really very mysterious. They did lots of experiments like this, and life is something so miraculous that we do not see the veils or causes that much in the creation of life itself.
Can you elaborate on this point? What does it mean we don't see causes at this point? Is it like everything is connected to each other so that we cannot decompose it to the level of life?
I couldn't understand, sorry.
I mean, yeah, that's the point I'm interested in knowing further. I mean, how do you understand like life is not using causes in a way? So in everyday life, in apparent life, it looks like life uses causes. I mean, what is meant here, or how to understand this? Like biological cell, I mean, you can play with these vaccines, right? You can just play with RNAs to produce proteins, for example. So isn't this playing with life? So isn't this triggering, some causes to play with life, in other words? Just, but making questions so that to understand the core better.
I understand. If we dive deeper, I mean, still what we are doing is very little and like very mechanical. I mean, you remember first they cloned the sheep. It was a big sensation that like some people were saying that, oh, we created life, that kind of stuff. But what they did was take out some stuff from cell and then put something put something other in it, and then that was how that kind of stuff is made. I mean, the technology in that is great. I mean, very fascinating, but still, it's not creating life per se.
Right. Maybe we can detail this a little bit more. Maybe I can throw the stick to Colin Hoca as well. What about this ugliness and beauty? How is it attached to this definition of life here?
Is that addressed to me?
I was asking still to Fatih abi.
All right. Okay. No problem.
I mean, Fatih abi, did you have a word on talking about beauty and ugliness attached to this definition of life?
Uh, no, I mean,
We can always switch back. I can
yeah,
turn to Kalın Hocam.
yeah, Colin Hocam can continue actually.
Okay, sure. Kalın Hocam, what do you say on these?
I think we have to look at causes a little bit more deeply in order to understand this. We know that material causes don't have agency, that they can't actually create anything, and they're just veils which cover the divine hand of power, if you wish. So whatever emerges into the phenomenal world, we know that it's created directly by God, but it is veiled by a material cause because we are also immersed in this material nexus, of time, space, and matter. And we can't perceive the absolute. So we can't perceive divine creation directly because we are limited and finite. And so, for example, while divine power is what is facilitating the growth of the cherry tree in my garden, we use again the example of the cherry tree.
Welcome back.
Welcome back. The direct effect of the workings of divine power, the lordly workings, Rabbani workings of divine power, are hidden behind a screen of material factors. Now, these material factors, these causes, are in reality occasions. They're just occasions whereby certain effects appear. So causality is a necessary fiction, because without causality, we wouldn't be able to understand divine bestowal. We wouldn't be able to understand that there is a creator at all. We have to see causes. Well, we do see causes. Causes are also there to be stripped away in order to, the journey towards understanding our creator has to strip the causes away and reach this conclusion that God is creating things directly. So they are a necessary fiction. Causes are there as a necessary fiction. They are there for us to attribute creation to causes and then to disavow that, then to go back on that and say, well, actually, no, material causes cannot possibly have the knowledge and the power and the wisdom and all of those requisite attributes in order to create. So then we lift the veils, we take the veils away. But there are some exceptions. There are some things which actually come without a veil. And I think, as we mentioned last week, existence is one and life is another. Life doesn't have a material cause to which it may be attributed. And the exceptions exist in order for us to actually understand that a causeless phenomenon is possible. Nursi rationalizes this exceptionality of life by talking about degrees of manifestation. And he says all of the names appear with various degrees of the intervention of their opposites. And you mentioned beauty and ugliness, or good and evil. Goodness comes in degrees, just as light comes in degrees. Because of the intervention of evil, light comes in degrees because of the intervention of darkness. Things are known by the interplay of their opposites. And so if we know what goodness is, we fathom goodness and we recognize goodness only because of evil. And we know what light is because of darkness. We know what beauty is because of ugliness. And we know what justice is because of injustice, and so on. So without these degrees of manifestation, the notion of difference and differentiation would be impossible to understand. So as you can see, there are so many outcomes, so many benefits to the existence of causes. They are definitely necessary. So in order for God's attributes to be manifested in creation, their opposites have to be given some kind of external reality. But what is important here is that these are only apparent opposites. In fact, they have an external reality. Darkness has an external reality, but it doesn't have an external existence. It is an absence, it is a lack. So these apparent opposites, such as evil, ugliness, injustice, they have an external reality, what Nursi calls haqiqat khariji, but they don't have an external existence. They don't have wujud khariji.
This
And they
is
have
an interesting
sorry.
distinction.
Yeah, he makes that distinction. They have an external reality. They are not makhluk, they are maj'ul. And if you have recourse to the Quran, when God talks about darkness, he doesn't say khalaqa, he uses ja'ala. So darkness is put there, but it's not created. Now, in other words, of these two opposites, light and darkness, light is created. It has an actual source. And it's differentiated because of the apparent intervention of degrees of darkness. But darkness has no source. It is only apparent. Unlike light, of course, which has a source, the sun or electricity or lamps, darkness has no source. It's not foundational. So, and I know this is being a very lengthy explanation, but I'm going to finish now. These apparent opposites are in fact absences, and they are necessary because they make existence known. Also causes, and this is what Nursi is saying here, causes act as veils. They are also necessary for another very important reason, and that is the spiritual seeker at the beginning of his or her journey may not be able to understand the notion of evil as being something that is attributable to God. And therefore, at the beginning of their spiritual journey, causes, material causes, are necessary in order for people to attribute evil and other deficiencies to causes rather than to God. So in short, the existence of veils, the existence of causes, saves those who have this imperfect understanding of God from becoming alienated from him before they are able to understand with experience and over time that the things that they find uncomfortable, such as evil or ugliness, are only apparently so. So to prevent them from directing these things and attributing them directly to God, causes exist as a kind of buffer and as something that can be blamed. In other words, veils are there to protect divine dignity from unwarranted attacks and unwarranted assaults. So that's me finished with this explanation. I'm sorry for taking so much time.
No, we're wonderful.
But I think causes need to be unpacked because they are necessary on so many different levels. Thank you.
Thank you, Colin Hocam. There are a lot of things to digest on what you have said. So what I understand, I mean, the relationship between the life, the name Hayy, and the causes are because of the fact that we need to see the name Hayy is without veil. For us to see the name Hayy, and also, as you said, there are other concepts such as existence, they're also without veil. So this type of creation, existence, life, so they're, in order for us to understand that they're without veils, we need to understand what veil is and how the nexus works in a way, if I truly understand from what you are saying. So
yeah, that's exactly what I was saying. Absolutely so.
Wonderful. I have seen somebody. Do you want? Yes.
Just to add one point on veil. In some parts of Risale, veil can be understood sometimes in two ways. It can be a screen sometimes too. For example, in a cinema screen, it blocks what is behind it, but also it shows something else on itself too. I mean, the cinema screen, it shows the images that are coming from somewhere else. Same way, causes sometimes can be seen as those screens which Allah's names and attributes are shown to us on those screens. Sometimes, I mean, they are like, they block, but sometimes with the correct understanding or perception or perspective, they can be screens too.
Wonderful point, Fatih abi. You're bringing our attention to say that causes actually beneficial for us. For that, they are becoming mirrors to show reflections of or manifestations of the names and attributes. Yeah, thank you for this. Maybe Abi, do you want to say something?
Assalamu alaikum. Yeah, as Koyun abi expressed and explained about the reason and the wisdom of the causes, in order not to blame the creator, the veil must be there. This is one of the most important reason for the veils. But I think there is another reason for the causes. Since this world is an examination and trial arena, everything is not so clear, then the things are connected to the causes. By that way, the examination is going on, the trial is going on. Everything is not so clear by the causes there. Some of the people may ascribe the causes as the real effect of the things by that way. I think for the examination, for the trial, examination necessitates that the facts should not be clearly shown. One of the reasons for the causes, as far as I understand, is for the examination of this world, the causes are also intermediaries. It's also, seen there as not, for example, we get the fruit from the tree, the cherry tree of the brother Colin. Then cherry tree is there, tree itself is a cause. Maybe the humidity is also, the water is also a cause, maybe air is also a cause, the light of the sun is also a cause. Then such causes are necessary there as a veil for the requirement of the examination. Examination necessitates the things must be with veil. Not so clear. If it is too much clear, then everybody has to believe in that way. But that trial and examination arena necessitates the things must be with the veil at the same time. Thank you.
That's an excellent point. It really is.
Wonderful. Everybody attracts attention to different aspects. So beauty of the completeness in a way. Thank you. I have some inputs in the chat. So it can get quite long, but since everybody has a reach to the chat, I just suggest reading from there. Mostly that I see, they are talking about cause and effect relationships, and so we can understand from the effect that the effects cannot be owned by causes. So if we have time, I think I will go back and take a look at and read them, but I think everybody can reach and read. So to just make use of the time, unless you want to talk about the chat inputs. And again, always, you can just speak up as well. So I think we are good this part. If you don't want to add anything else, we can, I think, move. So, however, since both the outer and inner phases of life are without dirt, defect, or fault, there is nothing to invite complaints and objections. They hold no filth or ugliness contrary to the dignity and sacredness of power. I think this judgment from Nursi is very deep, and I should confess I still have difficulty to have this judgment. From the beginning, I asked question to Fatih Abi as well, but is it easy to see that? I mean, even we don't have a very clear way of understanding what life is, but here there's a clear judgment that everything to life is, beautiful and clean, and no filthiness or ugliness. Colin Hocam, do you want to say something on this judgment? I mean, how precise and how to say? It is a very strong argument, isn't it?
Yes, I mean, there are no opposites to the divine attributes. There is no such thing as evil as a created being. There are no flaws in creation. Everything is perfect, unsullied, doesn't have any grime. It is a perfect manifestation of Quddus. We talked about Quddus as being, saying that God is free from any kind of defect or flaw or deficiency. But at the same time, in order for these absolute names to be understood, we have to have the appearance of opposition. And this is one of the miracles of divine creativity, is that God allows us to understand and internalize things which actually don't exist, such as absence. There is no absence of any of the divine names. Absence is apparent. Non-existence doesn't exist, as the very phrase non-existence itself suggests. And for the Creator to be able to make us understand that, we can appreciate what non-existence is, even though it doesn't exist. And in that sense, it's because we can say, for example, in my room at the moment, there is not an elephant. So the elephant in my room is non-existent. That non-existence, of course, is relative. And it's through logic such as this. And of course, there is no such thing as human logic. Logic is an outgrowth or an outpouring of divine wisdom. It's a manifestation of divine wisdom. So it's through logic such as this, and through rationalizing in this way, that we are able to understand things which don't exist, such as non-existence. However, not everyone is going to be at the same level all the time. And therefore, as we've just said, as Brother Nebi also corroborated with his very eloquent explanation, there are some who, if they attribute evil or injustice or ugliness to the Creator, would be alienated, would find it very difficult, and they may see that their belief has been either hampered or even destroyed. And therefore, again, these causes, which have no real existence, are acting as a buffer. And as Fatih said, they are a screen which is showing something important. They're showing the names and the attributes of God. And at the same time, they are screening divine dignity from the attacks of the ignorant. And also, they are acting as a kind of test, a buffer, right, to dissuade people from believing straight away, believing, as soon as they look at creation, they say, yes, there must be a God, there is a God. There has to be some kind of doubt. There has to be some kind of questioning. So, these things which don't actually exist play such a huge part in the cosmic game.
Wonderful. One example comes to my mind, if you agree. Can we say, like, for instance, the truth? So everybody, should appreciate the truth. Nobody can be against truth. Truth is beautiful in and of itself. Is this similar to the life is beautiful and, flawless in and of itself? Can we just extend these examples with the phenomenon that we are aware of, such as truth, as I gave an example of?
I think we can, and I think that ultimately, just as, the exception proves the rule and shows us what the rule is, here, exceptions such as life, life having no veil, actually shows us that nothing is really veiled in actual fact. Everything is directly created by God, and that what we see as veils are only apparently so. In actual fact, God is creating everything directly, without any kind of intermediary, without any kind of screen, without any kind of buffer. But our very creation as human beings, our limitations, our finitude, doesn't allow us to see that as it is. So we will always see through the prism of materiality and causality. We have no choice. Even in the next world, where causes will be a lot more open and a lot more transparent, there will still be causality and materiality. Because, a finite being cannot grasp fully the infinite or the absolute. So, yes, you were right to extend it to truth. And I think it can be extended to all of the divine attributes and qualities.
Wonderful, thank you. Today, now it's an opening for me, new opening for me to see, why Ustad Nursi talks about, these causes under the context of name Hayy. So from what we discussed, I understand actually, we need to have causes for the truth of, or for the reality of life, to be so pure that we need to be living in a world of causes. And thank you for this. So if we move, the phases of life, therefore, have been surrendered directly without veil to the hand of the life-giving, restoring, resurrecting name of the ever-living self-subsistent one, Hayyu Kayyum. Light is the same, and so are existence and giving of existence. As we said, Ustad Nursi talks about actually these in other treatises, some other treatises too. So as life is without veil, light, nur, is without veil, existence, wujud, is also without veil, and giving of existence, also creation, also without veil. What about this part? Do you want to? Of course, it's a different topic, but I want to just ask a little bit about this light nur. I think it helps to. What I understand from Risale-i Nur in general, nur is a very core, or it's kind of the core mahiyet. So whatever something is, it could be nur, and actually the names of Allah is described as nur, as the source. So and I think the name Hayy is nur also. So can you a little bit just tell us what you understand from this? Light is also nur, is also without veil. How do you understand particularly this part? Fatih Abi, maybe first you.
The light is also, very mysterious to scientists.
Even I don't know if scientists talk about light, it's not the physical light, right? This is something very different.
This is deeper than that. But even the light as we know it, like the light that comes from sun or the light bulbs, it is even mysterious to scientists. You can see it as particles coming, or you can see it just as a wave. It's really something mysterious. It's a form of energy, and what's the relation between energy and matter? It's somehow understood, but there's a lot more to be understood on those two.
Yeah, I mean, can we say that I'm 100% sure that no scientific experiment will be able to experiment Nur, because it is something not physical for sure. But especially since Nur also describes all the core of all the names, I was interested, to see how we can really understand Nur shortly. It's a long story, but I mean, any reference from your points welcomed, to help understanding. Colin Hocam, do you want to say something on the Nur part?
You made an important point, Harun, before. You said that light, Nur, is not this optical, physical light that we see, but this physical light that we see is a manifestation or a parallel, or shall we say a correspondence, because everything has correspondences. We know, for example, that rain corresponds to divine rahmah, so that when we think of rain, we think of divine rahmah. When we put the light on, the room is illuminated, that strange, I don't even, is it a substance? Is it a wave? Is it a particle? Is it a photons or what it is, illuminates my room. Now, divine Nur is not this optical Nur that we see. It's not, but this optical Nur that we see, if that's the right way of describing it, this physical light that we see corresponds to the Malakuti Nur, the spiritual Nur, which of course Quran talks about, because we work with symbols, we work with correspondences. And I think Fatih mentioned this. He said that scientists don't even understand this physical light that we see. So what we can understand from it is light illuminates. Light makes things visible. Light makes things known. Light makes things fathomable. And there's the story which we've repeated quite a lot about when the Prophet was born, والسلام, the whole world was suddenly filled with light momentarily, which I think what that is saying is that it is with the coming of the Prophet that illumination was able to take place. Enlightenment, true enlightenment, was able to take place because the prophetic position of interpretation, this reading of the book of creation, this reading of the cosmos in Ma'nai Harfi, which the Prophet taught us how to read the creation, illuminates the creation and makes it sensible. It makes it understandable. It allows us to see it conceptually. Whereas before, the world was in darkness. The world was in conceptual, spiritual darkness. So this light, whether it is optical light, physical light, or whether it's something much more profound, much more ethereal, much more elusive, is something which illuminates. And it doesn't have a veil. It doesn't have a cause, because then there would be just an infinite regress. This is another reason why these things don't have causes. Then you cannot impute the notion of infinite regress to them. Because if you say that light has a cause, a material cause, then you look for the cause of that cause, and you look for the cause of that cause, and onwards and back, forever. So light, the spiritual light of which Quran talks, has no material cause. It is there in and of itself, and its work is to illuminate and to make known. I was going to say something else, but I've forgotten what I was going to say. But I think that's enough anyway.
Thank you. Yeah, I think it's flowing nicely and instantaneously, and also well organized. On the opposite. Yeah, thank you.
Just to add one little point between Nur and light. For example, certain wavelengths of light can penetrate anything. I mean, for example, think of X-ray, or it can go through things that normal light can't go. And I'm sure that like Nur is much more penetrating than the X-ray. So no veil or no screen can stop that.
Yeah, wonderful. Also, is it
And
fair to? Yeah, please go ahead.
And just, for example, light fills our room. When we switch on the lights, right, it instantly fills our room. And the same way, I mean, I think this is an example for us to understand that Nur can fill the whole universe.
There's some amazing perceptions, some amazing observations here, and the chat. There are some incredible things being said in the chat. You know, Brother Errol, Brother Baikar, all of these.
Yes. Do you want me to go over them? I could not decide. Actually,
there's so many of them. There's so many of them. You know, there's an embarrassment of riches, as they say. We need to get them copied and put in the WhatsApp group, I think.
I will do that, definitely. I already saved the chat, and I will be saving, and definitely I will share them. I was going to say about also, does it something has for us, I mean, for especially human beings, our creation, the reason our creation and the faculties actually we are given, does it have something to say to understand these notions? For instance, I understand Nur, actually, it's a key lock principle. Nur just opens my heart, or Nur is a food for my heart. Let's say information is a food for my akal, let's say reasoning. Similar way, Nur is it's a food for my heart. I mean, can we look at from this perspective too, like something existent has a reflection in human condition or human faculty, and particularly this one is designed for the heart. You know, there are a lot of hadiths and verses related, like Allah did not, you know, fit in the universe, but fit in the heart of a human.
I think we have to see it like that. I think we have to see it the way that you're you know, expressing. You know, we call people the light of our life. You know, they light up our lives, or the light of my eyes. You know, you call the beloved the light of your eyes, the light of your life, because they make your life meaningful. And light does that, and it makes your heart becomes at ease through this light, because it speaks to you. When the cosmos becomes fathomable and meaningful, you know, it stills your heart. Your heart becomes mutmain, because that's what your heart is looking for. Your heart wants surety. It wants, you know, the confidence of knowing the truth. It doesn't want to be alienated. It doesn't want to be mired in unbelief. And light makes everything make sense. And so, yes, it addresses not just the aql, as you said, it addresses the heart, because the heart is looking for confirmation, and light brings confirmation.
Yeah, very mysterious and wonderful. If you are okay, I will move one more sentence. For this reason, creation and the giving of existence look directly without veil to the power of the all-glorious one. Moreover, since rain is a sort of life and mercy, the time of its precipitation and has not been made subject to a regular law, so that all the times of need, hands will be raised to the divine court to seek it. If, like the rising of the sun, rain had been subject to a law, that vital bounty would not have been sought and asked for at times of need. Interesting, as Colin Hocam, you mentioned also the rain in your previous statements. So here it comes, the rain. Rain is also related with mercy. So looks like the rain is without veil also in relation to the mercy. So how this part is related? I mean, now there's another concept which is feeling the need every time. How is this feeling the need every time and asking or praying to Allah related to being unveiled or without veil?
I think because, if I may suggest something, because we can't take it for granted, if you knew that the rain was always going to fall at exactly 3 o'clock, and apparently in places like Malaysia and Indonesia, you can almost set your clock by the certain rains at certain times of the day. But if you knew that, if you were sure about it, in other words, if there was this law, or in other words, a material cause or occasion, then you wouldn't appreciate it. You would take it for granted. You wouldn't need to ask for it because it would be there all the time. So there has to be uncertainty in order for need to obtain. I think anyway, that's as far as I can see it. If there's no surefire way of telling when the rain is going to come, then we will ask for it when we need it. We won't just say, okay, it's going to come anyway at 3 o'clock. So that's it.
Yeah, beautiful. Fatih abi, do you want to say something?
Not particularly about the rain, but a couple of days ago, I read a comment of a lady who gave birth recently to a baby. And one of her friends said that, how come in this day and age, people still think that birth of a baby is miraculous? I mean, and then she was saying that, how ridiculous is that? I mean, they are looking for something extraordinary to say it's a miracle, but the birth is a miracle by itself. And since, this age, with the advances in sciences, the causes became very thick veils for a lot of people. So they cannot see the beauty or miraculousness behind things like birth. For example, like when I contemplate more on that, about that, like just now, not baby being born with life, and with that baby, the baby's nutrition comes with that baby through her mother's breasts. At the same time, when the baby is in much need of that, and love for that baby is created and put in the parents' hearts with that baby. I mean, there's lots of things going on with the creation of that baby. So she was saying, how come you don't see this miraculousness and then say that, oh, we understand how this happens, so it's not a miracle?
Absolutely. All right. We have last 9 minutes or so. So it's coming to the third point. But if you agree, I will now go ahead and just read the chat and we can just talk about them. I will ask questions with the chat. So from the beginning, there's a comment. We look at things which appear to be causes and effects in the universe. We see that the most elevated cause possesses insufficient power for the most ordinary effect. This means that causes are a veil and something else makes the effects. Do you want to say something on this? The next one, it says, in milk level, we are in different places. In melekut level, we are in the same place. Most likely these are based on some context, but you're welcome to discuss on these points. We have definition from Erol Tahtakıran. These are beautiful too. Cause definition: a force, impact, mover, state, relation, etc. that affects an outcome or precedes the coming of an outcome into existence. For instance, if we consider an apple as the outcome, earth, atmosphere, water, heat, tree, etc. would each be a cause and means for the existence of the apple. Causes do not have any role in them, since the all-wise maker has made apparent causes avail to his works through a divine law of his called gravity. He has tied the planets to the sun like stones in a sling and causes them to revolve with different but regular motions within the sphere of his wisdom. And he has made the sun spinning on its own axis, an apparent cause giving the rise to the gravity. From 25th word. Thank you. From Brother Mehmet Su again, as an example, in the milk level, we think we see things, but in the melekut level, God wants to see himself through our eyes or through an ant's eyes. This is, I think, an elaboration on milk melekut with respect to causes. Then we have Baykar Abi. We even call a real considerable problem as a life and death issue. Almost everything is experienced, enjoyed, observed by us and become part of our existence by life. So anything we observe as an interruption to the life is observed as pure evil. Interesting statement. In a way, life by itself just represents pure good, and the opposite, in a way, is non-existence and pure evil. Yeah, wonderful. From Tolga, I guess, as Aslan, material veils on the creation of life being so thin and coming of life into existence being possible only through manifestation of overwhelmingly many esmas are two facts that render it difficult for us to comprehend this matter. Yeah, thank you. I think this is also addressing my question, why it is not so clear to see, you know, both aspects or both phases of life are so clean. Causes are veils for complaints. Thank you. Another definition is coming from Erol. Nur, that which is clear and visible, and that renders other things clear, visible, and knowable by illuminating them. According to this definition, the Quran, Islam, and true faith are light. They all expose phenomena of the unknown, such as the intermediate realm, Barzakh, the assembly, Hashir, I guess, paradise, hell, angels, and the reality of events, and therefore render them understandable. I think you should prepare a dictionary for us. Baykar Abi again, all the physical realm is a reflection of the names of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Life is the light that makes the existence observable for us, just as the light makes things apparent in our observation. Thus, it is the symbol or representation of pure good, pure existence in our understanding. Another comment, the all-wise maker continues to create subtle life and luminous intelligent beings from dense earth, which has little connection with spirit, and from turbid water, which has small relation with the light of life. This is, I think, excerpt from Risale, one of the Risale. He surely then creates certain sorts of intelligent beings from the seas of light, and even from the oceans of darkness, from the air, electricity, and other subtle matters suitable for spirit and appropriate for life. And surely these creatures are exceedingly numerous. This is also interesting input, isn't it? Like life is created from very dense substances too. So in a way, everything is serving in the creation of life. Do you want to comment on this part, Fatih abi, Colin abi?
I think they seem to be self-explanatory. I mean, the excerpts are
Okay.
sort of self-explanatory, but the way that people are responding to this is really amazing. You know, one of the brothers said that, you know, Islam itself is a light because it makes things known, it makes things understandable. Anything that makes the cosmos readable, it will be a light. It's amazing, really.
Right.
For just to add to the last point on the chats that you read, last comment, the scientists who are looking for life in other planets are looking for life as we know it in this planet, like which is created from like hydrogen, carbon, and these atoms. But there he mentions that Allah can create life from anything he wants. So our perception of life is very limited because of the things that we see around us.
True.
From electricity, from light, from anything.
Right. Thank you. Also, through his light, the motion and movement of the universe and its variations, changes, and transformations cease being meaningless, futile, and the playthings of chance. They rise to being dominical missives, pages inscribed with the signs of creation, mirrors to the divine names, and the world itself becomes a book of eternally besought one's wisdom. This is Samet, right? Eternally besought one.
I think that, yeah, it's Samad. I think that we can also say that without any exaggeration at all, that the Risale-i Nur is called Nur for exactly these reasons, is that the Risale-i Nur makes the Quran understandable, it makes Islam understandable, it makes the creation understandable. You know, it is Nur in its most expansive and its most comprehensive sense. It makes things make sense. I can't put it more bluntly than that. You know, before reading Risale, I have to say, and again without any exaggeration, I wasn't making proper sense of my existence. And I think that the Risale is there to make sense of everything, and I think it does, and it has the right name.
Well-deserved title.
Absolutely.
Yeah, very nice opening to, you know, with respect to the name Risale-i Nur. Belief is a couple of let me finish these couple of comments too, as we're approaching the closing. Belief is a light in our hearts which Allah lights up, from Fatih. Kodin Hoca thanking all of you, Erol, Fatih, Mehmet, Su, and others. Thank all of you. Mehmet Su, again, just as Azrael is a veil, even the Risale-i Nur is a veil. If we want to remove that veil, it's possible for us to see the witness 18,000 realms. Yeah, this is very high, how to say, vision. And Fatih just refers to a verse, Yasin, from Suratul Yasin, meaning the one who produces for you a fire from the green tree which you burn. Yes, I just saved the latest chat. I will just send it to be shared. Thank you, each of you, all of you, for joining. I hope it was a beneficial session. We will continue from the third point next week, inshallah.
Inshallah.
Selamun Aleyküm.
Alaikum salam.